What happens after a formulation is developed in the lab? It's time for scale-up and process development. Welcome to Inside Medincell, the video podcast series where we go behind the scene and talk about the science, the people, the partnerships behind our long-acting innovation right here in our Montpellier headquarters. Today, I'm joined by Sergi Soler, who plays a key role in bridging R&D, industrialization, and manufacturing. Welcome, Sergi.
Thank you so much for having me here, Diane.
Thanks for being with us today. To start very simply, could you introduce yourself and tell us more about your role at Medincell and your team's role?
Surely. So I'm Sergi Soler, the manufacturing engineering and process development leader at Medincell. So what we do is to take the formulations and scaling them up, having the process development engineering behind it, and how we transpose them to the CDMO. So my background is a chemical engineering. So I started in Spain as the main chemical engineer, and then I'm developing myself towards the pharmaceutical and biopharmaceutical industry, towards the injectable sector.
At Medincell, a lot starts in the lab with formulation design. In simple terms, what happens between the early stage formulation and a product that can actually be manufactured at scale and ultimately delivered to patients?
A lot happens really in the early stages. So before the formulation teams, they have already formulated the lead candidate. We already start gathering information with them. So how these physicochemical properties are behaving. What do you have in terms of critical quality attributes? What do you do towards that formulation standpoint? So all these bridging stages we have with formulation is what makes us think in advance and how we need to scale them up. So that means, do we need reactors? Do we need another kind of vessels? We need that kind of agitation, filtration, how it's going to behave, what we're going to do from the standpoint of filling, and other main critical process parameters that we need to have that bridging with the formulation teams. We also in our department, we also think about the medical devices. So all of this comes in liaison. So what we're going to do on the syringe, how we are going to do with that to injector, how we are going to make sure that what we want to deliver to the patient, it's basically done and keeping the main quality attributes towards all the development cycle that we have from the early stage of formulation development towards the industrialization and that transposition to the GMP environment.
What is GMP environment?
The GMP environment is the good manufacturing practices that we need to accommodate, and also we need to make sure that we are deploying everything in the CDMO, the Contracted Development Manufacturing Organization. And what's that? So what we need to do is to make sure that we have the sterility assurance, we need to make sure that we have our quality assurance, and everything that we render, it's safe for the patient. That's what GMP stands for. Mainly, firstly, the GMP is to secure the patients.
How does your team ensure that what is developed in R&D can be translated into a robust and reproducible industrial process?
We take everything in bits. So everything is not done in one shot in the lab. So how we are going to make sure that that formulation remains the same formulation in terms of characteristics once it's being scaled up. So what happens in low and lower scale, in the small batches, doesn't basically transpose to larger scale. So we are basically doing DOE, design of experiments. So how we are going to do that in a bit larger scale, and then once this is well understood, how we behave commonly with the main parameters on the process, then we do the scale up for the industrialization. It means bigger vessels, perhaps bigger equipment, so bigger accessories, tools that we make sure that we can carry it out aseptically, and we can maintain the sterility with our partners, with the CDMOs, to make sure that everything is done towards the regulatory pathway, and also everything related to the good engineering practices.
So now we understand that scaling up is a critical step in turning innovation into reality. How do you transfer and adapt Medincell's processes with your partners responsible for manufacturing, so CDMOs?
Innovation is key. So our formulations, they have its particular properties that we have to think a little bit out of the box, how we're going to make sure that we can manufacture this. And this comes with an up-close and personal relationship with our partners. We have one mindset to have one team. Means that everything that occurs here at Medincell and the way we are transferring to the CDMO, it has to be an open bidirectional pathway. Means that everything we are basically manufacturing, developing, is also translated to them, and it has that loop of feedback. Innovation comes when we have a challenge ahead of us, how we are going to make sure that this is something that we can deliver to the patient, how we are going to make sure that this is accepted towards the regulatory framework, how we are going to make sure that it's manufacturable. So aseptically speaking, or in the sterility standpoint, how we are going to make sure that this is going to be a product that at the end, down the road, could be completely a product that we can use for the market and for the patients. So the way we work with the CDMOs, it's a way that has all teams blended together, working completely as one team. It means that we move to the CDMOs also they come over, and we try to do as one team what that manufacturing and that the scale-up standpoint has meant basically as an objective to be, so that everything comes as fluid as possible, that transferability, that robustness, that the reproducibility, all of these comes from the main strategy we have at Medincell to make sure that this is happening.
And of course, to ensure this, it's essential to keep sustainable and long-term relationships with those CDMOs.
Completely. The more we work closely, the better we get in terms of manufacturing and development.
What makes scaling up long-acting injectables particularly challenging compared to traditional medicine and, for example, oral medication?
Parenterals, in terms of what we have to inject, they come into a complex development standpoint. So we are developing solutions. Sometimes they are viscous, sometimes they are not that viscous, sometimes they are suspensions, sometimes they have not that characteristic to be suspended. We have also emulsions. So that development, it's something that it's very particular and complex, how we are going to make sure that this is done on an aseptic environment and we can sterilize it. Sometimes it is feasible to do terminal sterilization. Sometimes it's feasible to do filtration sterilization. How we are going to make sure that all of this, that drug product we have in the beginning when it's being compounded, remains stable throughout the process. We are using also single-use systems, how they behave towards in contact with those single-use systems, how we make sure that all the regulatory framework and quality of the product remains stable throughout the lifespan of that product. So it's something that it complexifies as the years pass by. Regulations, as the EMA with the Annex 1 gets more restricted. It's something that we need to get around with them and how to make sure that first of all, is the risk of the patient. So that comes also the complexity that we need to make sure that we understand that since the very beginning. Here, when it comes the good understanding with our partners, with the CDMO. So all of these challenges we have ahead, they are being discussed with our risk assessments and how we are going to make sure that all of this is layered down towards the manufacturing and clinical development that we have together as a common objective.
Your team also produces batches for toxicology studies and clinical trials. What does this involve, really, and why is it such a critical step in the whole development process?
At Medincell, we have a strategy that we are working in an agile mindset, meaning that we work in parallel with many activities at once. So we have these non-clinical manufacturing studies that they are key for the submission with our regulatory dossiers. Also, in parallel, we work with the CDMOs towards the clinical manufacturing bulk that we do at the GMP environment. All these activities are basically done with a weighing and preparation well in advance, how we make sure that all of this, it's been carried out and deployed with a timely manner. It is very important that we also get this down on the road since the very beginning. It means that with the CDMOs, they understand that we're going to have that preliminary scale-up testing way in advance, and then afterwards it's being linked towards the clinical manufacturing and also the stages that come afterwards. All of this makes that the development we do with our drug product, our injectables, they're basically streamlined with the what it's demanding with the market. So we can get to the patient way a little bit in advance towards the common of what it's been done for the past years in the industry.
Once the scale-up process is defined, how does the product move from manufacturing to a finished, ready-to-use injectable?
So once we have already done the main phase 1, now it's time to think about industrial commercialization. It means that it comes again another scale-up. It comes again another equipment review, how we are going to make sure that this is done to make sure to supply everything that is demanding on the commercial standpoint. That's basically thinking towards phase 3. The phase 3, we're going to have that final design in terms of a manufacturing standpoint, device standpoint, that we have all this coming around for delivering the auto-injector, the syringe, the primary packaging that is defined by the targeted product profile of each project, each program, towards the commercialization of that product.
Now, and if you had to describe in one sentence, one word, the role and the challenges of the process development team at Medincell, what would it be?
If I think about what it takes to overcome the challenges that we have ahead, I think about what my team does on a daily basis. They are innovative, they are creative, and they're really science-driven. So this is the main driver that what makes us excel and move forward towards our main common objectives.
Sergi, thank you so much for being with us today.
Big pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here.
So today, we've seen that once formulation works in the lab, the journey is far from over. Scaling up, ensuring quality, and preparing for manufacturing are all essential steps in bringing innovation to patients. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon on Inside Medincell.